to On the Money with Secure Money. I'm your host, Randy Major, and I'm here today with Brian Quaranta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Randy. How are you?
I'm
Good to
great.
see you.
Thanks for asking. How are you today?
I'm great. Yeah, doing well.
Good. I know how busy you guys are at the office.
Yeah, always.
Yes. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
We appreciate it.
To come here and talk with us and the viewers. You have so much helpful information to give. And I love talking with you because I know how passionate you are about helping folks retire.
Yeah, it's come from an early age. I mean, do you remember Montgomery Ward's catalog store? Most people, if you're listening, you probably remember JCPenney catalog store, Montgomery Ward's catalog stores. My dad had a Montgomery Ward's catalog store.
Wow.
The catalog stores were the Amazon before Amazon, right?
Yes.
You actually had to go, order your stuff, go pick it up, but still, it was kind of a version of Amazon back in the day. But, my mom and dad lost that store in the mid-'80s because Montgomery Ward's had closed. So my parents went through a really hard time financially. And there was nobody to really help them. I remember my dad working with a stockbroker out of New York City because I grew up in New Jersey, and I remember my dad always being upset that he lost money and Snapple iced tea and all these other stocks he would buy. But there was really nobody there helping create a plan. And my parents went through some tough times.
Wow.
And so, it gave me an interest in finance very early on. And what I learned is that most people really just need good information. Clear, concise information. The problem that we have right now in our society is that there's too much information available and it creates so much noise that people don't know the right moves to make, when to make them, and how to make them, because there's so many different opinions out there of what to do. And I think what we've done really well at Secure Money Advisors is we've created a very simple system, the Right Track retirement system, which allows us to put people in the position of strength by having good information to make good decisions that are beneficial to their financial future.
Right. So this is a situation where Google is not helpful. You don't want to Google your retirement plan.
Yeah, well,
you want to sit down with somebody who knows what they're doing, that's going to make it clear and concise, make it simple for you to understand. When is it too early ever to start your retirement plan and get the ball rolling?
It's never too early. It's never too late. I can remember I recently had a single woman come in. She was divorced, married for many, many years, but all of a sudden found herself divorced later on in life. Through the divorce, received some monies, had to go back to work, but now was taking care of herself, taking care of the kids. And she just didn't think retirement was ever possible. She had worked with some financial planners at the local banks, and she had some, she had a work 401k plan from a new employer. But she says, I just don't think I'm ever going to be able to retire. And I hear that a lot when people walk through the door, that they just don't think they're going to be able to retire. And the problem with it is because most people are not getting pensions. So back in the day, you kind of knew that if you worked so long for a company, that at the age of 62 or 65, you could retire, collect your Social Security, and get your pension. The reason why most people don't know if they can retire now is because we have these pensions that have been replaced with company retirement plans like 401ks, 403bs. I call them the yo-yo retirement plans. That stands for you're on your own. You got to figure out how to turn that sum of money that you've accumulated into a monthly income stream. And more importantly, you got to do it in a way that you don't run out of money. So what we were able to do is through the Right Track retirement system that we've created, and it's taken me over 20 years to create this, I was able to bring her step by step through a process that showed her very easily when she could get retired. And she thought maybe it would be 10 years. We were able to get her retired in 5 years with some really simple steps. And we see it all the time. I had a husband and wife come in not too long ago that wanted to move to Wyoming. of all places. It seems like a very popular place. And they had a lot of stuff all over the place, and they had some very complicated things. There were some pensions that this individual was going to get, but they were from old employers. Some of them were small. Some of them, when he died with him and didn't pass to his wife. So they had income sources that were splintered everywhere. It was very complicated. Wow. But that's our job at Secure Money Advisors, right? As kind of financial engineers, our job is to take all these pieces of the puzzle, bring them together so that we have one solid picture of what this thing is going to look like. But it's got to be a simple and easy to understand plan. Otherwise, people are not motivated to implement it, or they're scared to implement it.
Absolutely.
But when it's simple, you actually get excited about that day of retirement coming, because you know you're going to have a very simple philosophy to create the foundation, which is going to allow you to retire with peace of mind and confidence.
Right, and I mean that's what you said, the piece of the puzzle. You know, retirement looks so much different now than it used to. It can be so intimidating for folks that they just don't even really want to think about it because it's overwhelming. But you have to. Yeah,
they kick the can down the road.
Right.
And this is not the time to kick the can down the road. If there's any time not to procrastinate on sitting down with somebody that truly does planning, and I, you know, I want you to understand that there is a difference between a planning firm and, let's just say, a stock firm. You know, most people, they'll transact, you know, business with an advisor, but they're really just buying financial products. And financial products are important, but understanding what the plan needs to be is the most important thing, because once we understand what the plan needs to look like, then we actually can go out and buy the financial products that actually are going to be best for that plan. Because I get questions all the time. Should I have life insurance? Should I have long-term care insurance? Should I buy an annuity? Should I buy a mutual fund? Should I buy stocks? Well, the answer is it all depends.
Right.
Because your plan's going to be different than their plan, and we're going to have to make sure that the financial products that are going to be best suited for you, that are going to be in your best interest, might not be best for them.
Absolutely.
And that's the job of a fiduciary like Secure Money Advisors, is to work for the client and make sure that we're doing the very best we can for that individual.
Now, Brian, you mentioned fiduciary. Some folks at home may not have ever heard that term. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, more and more people are really understanding that term now today more than ever, because we get it questioned a lot. Are you guys a fiduciary? And really, the fiduciary is just a very high standard in the industry where the advisor by law is required to do what's in the client's best interest. And you would hope that every advisor would be required to do that, and you would hope that every advisor does do that. But a fiduciary actually is held to that standard. We work for the client. We don't work for any specific company. We're not beholden to any company. So when we sit down, again, we talk about the planning model. Only once we talk about what the plan needs to look like, it's only then that we actually go out there and choose the financial products that are going to get the plan to work. And that's the job of a fiduciary, to do what's in your best interest, but also to provide the products that are in your best interest, but have a real written plan. And this is why we created the Right Track Retirement System. And for the Right Track Retirement System, for the next 10 callers, we're actually going to give you the opportunity to come in at no cost. You know, it's not very often that you get to sit down with a licensed fiduciary at no cost, complimentary for an hour, and go over your current plan. Now, I know that meeting with a financial planning firm can be a very intimidating process. People will tell me that, you know, I don't know what to bring, I don't know what to ask. You don't have to worry about that when you come to Secure Money Advisors. We're going to ask you lots of questions. We're going to bring you through a process to help you get more clarity on your financial situation, and we're going to help you cover the 5 key areas of financial planning. Number one, and most importantly, is your income. Because when we retire, your paycheck's going to stop, but bills, taxes, and all the things that you want to do, that's not going to stop. So we have to be able to replace the paycheck, but we've got to do it in a way to where you don't run out of money. Number 2 is taxes. If we're going to have to generate income in retirement, we'd want it to be the most tax efficient plan that we could. 3 is owning the right investments. 4 is having the right health care plan. And 5 is making sure that when the good Lord decides to take you home, that the money that you've worked your entire life for goes to the people that you love, to your charities, and not to Uncle Sam. So for the next 10 callers who call in right now, it's 1-888-382-1298. Again, 1-888-382-1298. Don't kick the can down the road on this. Schedule your Right Track Retirement Review today.
We have to go to a very short commercial break, Brian. Viewers, we encourage you to stay with us. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Again, that number is on your screen, 888-382-1298. We'll be right back.
See, everybody can tell you how to invest your money. There's not a lot of people out there and a lot of firms that can teach you how to use your money. Most people will also tell you that they're scared. And the reason they're scared is because they're afraid of running out of money.
The last thing you want to do is have a really good job into your 60s, retire, and be looking for work again in your late 70s.
The average person might say, well, a good portfolio would be a good mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. No. A good portfolio is all designed around the 5 key areas: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
We're not just product pickers here. What we do best here is we build retirement plans.
9 out of 10 people, when they walk through the door, would ask us, we just want to know if we're on the right track. And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know it? Probably now.
People, can actually see a vision once we start to really build out their plan.
This is about you. If you're not getting what you need, and you feel that when you walk out of the advisor's office, it's time to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. The difference at Secure Money Advisors, as a fiduciary firm, we help you manage the risk, build the income, and give you the retirement you dreamed of.
Welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. I'm your host, Randy Major, and I'm chatting today with Brian Quaranta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors. Brian, we're talking all things retirement today, and I know the viewers at home have a lot of questions. Viewers at home, call us. Call in with your questions. We're going to answer questions in the last segment. The number's on your screen, 888-382-1298. Brian, let's talk some common mistakes in retirement planning.
Yeah, not mitigating risk. Yeah,
Okay.
the mitigation of risk in retirement is very important, and people don't recognize that. So, the things that got you to retirement are not the things that are going to get you through retirement. And what I mean is a lot of the investment strategies and techniques that you use during what we call your accumulation years, right, when you're growing your money, are not the same strategies and techniques you're going to use during your retirement years, or what we also consider your distribution years. So what happens a lot of times is people continue to do the same thing with their money. And it's common to see right now, and the reason why it's common that most people will continue to do the same thing is because the markets have cooperated quite a bit lately. And a lot of times when the markets are cooperating and we're used to opening up our statements and seeing good returns, we forget to follow the fundamentals of mitigating that risk. Because if the markets are not cooperating and you're in that distribution phase, this is where bad things start to happen. People run out of money, they lose too much money, and they don't have the time to recover, right? So in retirement, it's all about mitigating the downside risk, because what you have to understand is that the losses will hurt you more than the gains will help you in your retirement years. Let me say that again. The losses will hurt you more than the gains will help you. So mitigating and protecting your downside risk is extremely important. And there's some basic fundamentals that you can follow that will still give you the ability to grow your money in the market, but also make sure that if the markets go down, that you don't have to delay retirement or come out of retirement like people had to in 07, 08, when the markets went down. People had to either delay retirement or come out of retirement. You don't want to put yourself in that position. If you've won the game, there's no reason to continue to play it. Once you've won the game, it's all about protecting what you have, getting a reasonable rate of return to keep pace with inflation, and getting a reasonable rate of return so that you can take the money that you want to take and still have some principal dollars left, or even grow that money so that you have some legacy dollars that could pass on to the family members.
Wow, that's such great advice, Brian. Thank you so much. I'm really curious, what percentage of people come into the office and they're already on the right track? They just don't even need your help, and you're like, well done. Does that ever happen?
It does, yes. And we want to applaud those people, right? And if you are on the right track, that's great. But if you weren't on the right track, when would you want to know that? right? I mean, if I wasn't doing something right, whatever it is, whether it be, let's say I'm working personally with a tax accountant for my business. If there was something that wasn't being done right, I would want to know that sooner than later, because I would want to make adjustments. And I've had that happen to me as I've grown the business. I've outgrown accounting practices, right? And so you may be at a point to where you've outgrown the person that's been helping you up to this point. And that's okay. They got you to where you needed to be, but they might not specialize in that next phase that you need. There's a lot of advisors out there that focus on that growth portion of the process, but there's not a whole lot of people that specialize in that distribution phase like we do at Secure Money Advisors. If you were to look at our 1,400 clients that we've helped successfully retire, what you would see is that everybody is 55 and older. Now, we've younger clients because we get referred to our clients' children and grandkids and things along those lines. But we're truly there to help those that are approaching retirement and are in retirement, because that's what we specialize in and that's what we do really well. And there's 5 key areas that are so important. There's the income portion, there's the tax portion, the investment portion, the healthcare portion, and the legacy portion. Most financial planners are not taking the time to talk about those 5 key areas because all they're talking about is a diversification of your portfolio. And that's fine, but once you reach a certain point, like 10 to 5 years from retirement or even in retirement, now the whole game changes. And if you're not focused on those fundamentals, what's happening is you're leaving gaps open where things are going to fall through.
Right. And this is why it's so important too, Brian, to get a second opinion. Now, I don't know about you, but when I get a diagnosis from the doctor or the dentist, I kind of want someone to take a second look.
Absolutely. Right. And I've always said that you cannot get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion.
Exactly.
Right? Think about it. The dentist that just gave you the opinion, right? Can you go back and get a second opinion from that dentist? He's going to tell you the same thing, right? So, a lot of people will say to me, well, my advisor just doesn't do what you do. Okay, that's understandable. What are we going to do about it? Well, I'm going to go back and ask if they can do some of the things that you've told me to do. Well, it doesn't work that way, right? I mean, what they've done is where they want to specialize. But look, I understand that when, you're looking to get better help in what you're doing in life, sometimes that means having to break a relationship that you've been in for a very long time. I mean, I'll have to use myself as the example. My first accounting firm I ever worked with was my accounting professor from college. Now, I thought this woman, she was the smartest person I've ever known. She was my accounting professor, right? I said, I'm never going to need another accountant again. Well, as the business grew, right? And it wasn't that she wasn't a great accountant, because she's an incredible accountant, and she still is to this day. But what her practice focused on was not what I needed as the company grew. And it's the same thing with you. You might be working with the local individual at the bank, or you've been working with mom and dad's guy that you've known for a long time. Some of you might not be working with anybody. You still might have money sitting in old 401ks. But I would encourage you to take a step and not procrastinate here and get a second opinion from a licensed fiduciary so you can see if there are areas of your planning model that need to be improved. And how much peace of mind would you have if you left with a piece of information that actually made your situation better or avoided you from making a big mistake?
Brian, I think this is a great time to remind the viewers at home of your special offer.
Yeah, folks, this is our Right Track Retirement Review. It's complimentary to you. There's no cost. But you've got to do your part. You've got to pick up the phone and call us and schedule that appointment. When you call and schedule the appointment, when you come into our office up in Zealand and Opal, you're going to spend about 45 minutes to an hour with us. Some of you might see me, some of you are going to see some of my team members, but we all plan together as a team. You get a dedicated team of people at Secure Money Advisors that are truly working to make sure that you have the very best at all times. In the world we live in today, having a team-based model gives you a lot of leverage because you just aren't relying on one individual, you're relying on a team of individuals that have an extremely in-depth knowledge of these topic. So again, for the next 10 callers who call in, it's a complimentary Right Track retirement review. We're going to go through the 5 key areas when you come in: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning. Do your part, though. Pick up the phone right now and call us 1-888-382-1298.
Folks at home, if your financial situation is keeping you up at night, we encourage you to pick up the phone today and call 888-382-1298. We're going to come right back after this short break with some viewer questions, so stay tuned.
If I could help you increase your income, if I could help you pay less taxes, if I could help you potentially maximize the returns of your investments while reducing risk, reducing fees, if I could help you prepare for a health event, or more importantly, when the good Lord decides to take you home, to make sure that the money you've accumulated over your lifetime goes to your family and to your charities rather than the IRS, would that be worth the time to come in and get a second opinion?
Welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. I'm your host, Randy Major, and I'm chatting with Brian Quaranta of Secure Money Advisors. Brian, we've got a lot of people calling in with questions. Are you ready to answer some of those?
I'm always amazed by how good of questions we get.
I
really.
know.
And again, this goes back to what I tell my team all the time. People are hungry for good information. So what do we got?
All right. Well, let's see. We have John in Gibsonia. He wants to know, which is a better option, long-term care insurance, annuity, or life insurance? I am 55 and would like to retire at 68, then ease into some part-time work. I've maxed out my IRA and own my own home. I don't have a spouse or kids.
So he said life insurance,
long-term care, annuity,
or an annuity.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that I'd have to ask John about before I could answer this.
Okay.
And again, this is a hypothetical answer because to a certain degree, I don't know. There's a lot more questions I'd need to know about John. But what he's really talking about there is maybe healthcare coverage. It's kind of if he had a health event. You can do that through accelerated death benefits through life insurance, where they put like a long-term care rider on there. You can buy a traditional long-term care policy where they would pay if you got sick and went into a nursing home. But you can also buy annuities that have long-term care riders that will pay for you to be in a nursing home. Now, what's the difference? An annuity, you don't have to go through underwriting, which means you don't have to prove that you're healthy and insurable. Whereas long-term care insurance and life insurance requires that you go through underwriting. And if you have any medical conditions, you might not get that specific policy because you might not qualify for it. And especially as you start to get into those later years, 55, older. But depending on what he's trying to do there, because you can use all those products for lots of different things. But if he's talking specifically about healthcare, those are the biggest differences amongst those three.
Now, I think John brings up a really good point, is healthcare. I mean, how many people are really factoring into their plans the kind of care they're going to need? I mean, we're living a lot longer, and healthcare is very expensive.
Well, there's two things that people miss when it comes to retirement planning. Number one, and most importantly, is tax planning, right? They're not doing enough work in the tax planning area, and they're leaving themselves exposed to increased tax rates. And that's not a good thing, because for most people, when they're withdrawing money from their portfolios, are creating taxable events, because most people have money sitting in IRAs, 401ks, and things along those lines. So they're not, every time they pull money out, they've got to pay taxes. And if taxes go up, they got to pay even more taxes. So this becomes a challenge, right? So the bottom line is that, the situation with John is that he's just going to have to decide what's better for him.
Well, John needs to come in and have a meeting with you. John, you better call and take advantage of today's special offer. Okay, Brian, we're going to take another question. Okay, we have Patty in Mount Lebanon. She says, the more I watch the show and learn about the many different financial tools that exist, the more I dislike my 401k and the limited investment choices I have. Is there anything I can do to broaden my options, or am I just stuck with what's on their menu?
Yeah, you pretty much are. That's the advantage of rolling money to a self-directed IRA. Because your menu goes from a very short menu to a very big menu. Having a self-directed IRA gives you access to, an unlimited amount of investment options, whereas the 401k, you're very, very limited to it. So she would have an advantage by rolling the money over. And the other thing is, if you've reached the age of 59 and a half and you're still working for your employer, you might even qualify for something called an in-service withdrawal, where you're going to be able to, if you're still working, right? An in-service withdrawal is different than a rollover. An in-service withdrawal says, hey, I've reached the age of 59 and a half. I don't want to stay in my 401k anymore because there's not a whole lot of good investment options there. I'd like to roll this money out and get into an IRA that allows me to have more investment options. And when you use the 59 and a half in-service withdrawal rule, when you roll that money over, there's no taxes, there's no penalties, and your 401k at your employer still stays open. And we want it to stay open because we still want you to make contributions, and we don't want you to miss out on the free money that you would get from your employer through the matching that they're giving you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we have a couple minutes left in the show. I want to squeeze in one more question from Jennifer in Bethel Park. What, if any, are the risks associated with a Roth IRA?
There's really not a whole lot, there's some 5-year rules on there waiting to, to take the money, but for the most part, that I wouldn't even call that a risk. I mean, there's more benefits than there are risks.
Oh, great.
And what I mean by the 5-year rule is that if you put money into a Roth IRA, you got to wait 5 years in order to take the money out. Or if you did a conversion, there's a 5-year rule with that also. But there's more advantages from a tax perspective. So for me, example, I do a lot of Roth conversions every year because I make a contribution to a SEP IRA each year, and I get a tax deduction when I make a contribution to the SEP IRA. So I get a tax deduction, but in the following year, I convert it. And I convert it from a taxable account to a tax-free account. Now, when I do that, I've got to pay taxes, and I've got to pay taxes in that year. But that means that money, when I convert it, all the future growth of that money and all the income that I plan on taking out of that account in the future is all going to be tax-free. Oh. But this is what we talk about when you come in.
Right.
This is what the Right Track Retirement Review is all about, Randy. And we've worked so hard to create this Right Track Retirement Review because what I have found is that people don't have all the information to make good decisions when it comes to their retirement planning. And if you haven't figured it out yet, and this is your first time seeing the show, you're going to hear me talk about the 5 key areas of planning: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning. And when you come in for your complimentary Right Track Retirement Review, we're going to go over all of those 5 key areas, and you're going to have a really clear understanding of what retirement should look like. But you got to do your part. Call today for that Right Track Retirement Review. It is complimentary. Don't kick the can down the road. Come in, get a second opinion. It's 888-382-1298. Again, 1-888-382-1298.
Wonderful information on today's show, Brian. Thank you so much. And to the viewers at home, thank you for joining us. Have a beautiful day.